Hi, this is Fabian Nicieza. Yes, I pronounced it right. I'm the co-creator of Deadpool, and I've been a comic book writer for 30 years for Marvel and DC. I'm here at River Region Comic Con in Montgomery, Alabama. Unfortunately, Saturday only, but the show will be tomorrow as well, so come on out if you're here. I'm here with Jamarcus Newton and JVE-Films. Now it's Jamarcus's turn to ask the questions.
All right, so I got at least 10 simple questions.
10? There's no way in hell I'm going to do 10.
What the obvious one right
Inside
here.
joke for everyone watching.
What inspired you to create the character Deadpool? The obvious question.
The character of Deadpool was created by Rob Liefeld, who was plotting and penciling the New Mutants comic. I was scripting the New Mutants comic, which meant I put the dialogue in. So Rob created a character that he described verbally to me as Spider-Man meets Punisher. 2 weeks later, when I had to script the pages that Deadpool actually appears in New Mutants 98, I decided, let's take that to heart. Let's make him Spider-Man meets Punisher by making him a wise ass. And the fans reacted very positively to the wise ass, and every time we kept using him, we just kept making him a wise ass. And then about a year later, we had to do a lot of the work to figure out, why is he like this? Why did he go to the weapons program? And that's when we did the cancer and all the other stuff that we did. So I'm the co-creator of Deadpool because he exists the way he is now because of the choices I made as the scripter back then.
So several people in the world, if not the whole world, they want a job in Marvel. So I read you started as a manufacturing assistant, later went to promotion.
Yep.
So what's your advice to anybody who wants to intern at Marvel, or any job?
There's two different kinds of approaches. One is if you want There's two different kinds of approaches. One is if you want to work in the office. Okay. Being a writer or an artist is something that everyone does freelance. You may have a contract with the company, but you're still doing it from your home or your studio. The Marvel offices are a publishing company's offices in Manhattan. So if you want to be an intern, or if you want to try to apply for a job in their editorial department or their digital marketing department or in their accounting department, you clearly have to be in proximity of New York City and Manhattan because that's where the offices are. They have summer interns from colleges. They have fall and winter interns who work there in editorial offices. Many of the people who got assistant editor jobs in my day all started within the intern program. One of the most popular writers in comics today is Dan Slott, who wrote Spider-Man and now writes Iron Man and Fantastic Four. He was my intern when I was an editor back in the early 90s. I got a job in the manufacturing department, and then I moved over to the promotions department because I wanted to do advertising for the company, and that's what I did for many years before I became an editor for the company. So that's the way to do it when you want to get a job like any other job. Marvel is a comics publishing company like any other publishing company. You have to apply for a job through the HR department, and then you have to get an interview based on your experience and your skills, then they bring you in. Being a writer or an artist is a completely different thing. The way to break in at Marvel generally is by having a body of work that impresses an editor. And the way to impress an editor is by having published comics, whether it's small companies or larger companies, that draws their attention and they want to hire you to do a book for Marvel. Same thing with being an artist. You can still walk off the street as an artist, show your samples to an editor at a convention, or email them, or show it on social media, and they'll hire you because you're that good. But more often than not, they want you to have a body of work that you've built up in order for them to determine that you're someone they want to hire.
So, do you write all the Deadpool jokes, or who is? How funny are you, really?
I am indescribably hilarious. It's amazing how funny I am. Deadpool is very much stream of consciousness for the most part for me. I don't the way they write Deadpool now in the comics is different, I think, for the most part, than the way I wrote Deadpool. My Deadpool is an action-adventure character that exists in the Marvel Universe. So the humor ends up coming out of the situations he's in or the people he encounters, and that's where I ended up drawing the humor from. Most Deadpool stories now seem to be written with the intention of it being a comedy story, so they structure it purposefully in order for him to be placed in situations that they can have fun with. I don't necessarily write them like that, so I can't speak to structuring it like a comedy story. Mine is more like Lethal Weapon, the movie, that has a whole lot of humor in it, but it's an action-adventure story, you know? So the funny just comes spontaneously out of the moment I'm writing. And I've always included humor in my work, all the way back from my very, very early stuff at Marvel, Cyforce, and then New Warriors had a lot of humor in it because I like humor. I like funny is fun, right? So I think comics should be fun, so I like to inject that into it.
What's the funniest thing you think Deadpool has ever said or said recently? Like,
I don't read the comics right now, so I can't tell you at all. Anything funny he said in the last 10 years.
What's the funniest joke you wrote for him?
The funniest bit I think I did was in Cable and Deadpool when he was trying to join the X-Men for an adventure, and he decided to wear Marvel Girl's 1970s or 1960s miniskirt costume, and he literally wore her green mini dress skirt with yellow go-go boots with bare legs, and it was a little frightening both for the readers and for the other characters in the story.
So outside of Deadpool, who's your other favorite Marvel character?
Well, Deadpool's not even one of my favorite Marvel characters.
Oh, okay.
Deadpool's not even in my top 5 favorite Marvel characters. My favorite Marvel characters are, quite frankly, the ones I grew up reading more than anything, and that would be Spider-Man and Captain America and Fantastic Four. The Avengers was always my #1 book, and Hawkeye have always been my favorite characters for Marvel. Deadpool's not one of my favorite characters because I can't name any character I've co-created as a favorite character.
Are you sure you want to admit that, though?
Yeah, because it actually sounds a little bit masturbatory for me to say, oh yes, Deadpool's one of my 5 favorite Marvel characters. It's kind of silly. No, I'll honestly take Hawkeye over Deadpool any day of the week, you know, because I grew up reading Hawkeye.
So a lot of characters, they find it hard to get along with Deadpool personality. But he's been known to go on adventures with Cable. So what is it about Cable personality and Deadpool that why are they such a good team?
I had to write them in a monthly book together, and I had to come up with why they would be in a monthly book together without killing each other. And I used the first 6 issues of that monthly book in order to figure it out. So the first 6 issues was them trying to kill each other, and then during the course of writing that is where I realized why it works to have them together. The truth is, they don't have anyone else. When I was writing them, both men were so lonely and so outcast that they only had each other to turn to, as pathetic as that sounds, and that's why they kept turning to each other. I think that Deadpool has a much greater supporting cast now. He got married to a demon, he had a kid, I don't know. I mean, he became Fonzie season 6 of Happy Days. He's so domesticated, it's ridiculous. Season 6 of Happy Days. He's so domesticated, it's ridiculous. But my Deadpool was pretty much a very lonely, outcast guy.
So what's your involvement in the Deadpool movies, or did you have any?
I go to the movie and I watch it and I like it, and then Marvel sends me a check at the end of the year every time there's a Deadpool movie. So my involvement, for the most part, although outside of talking to the guys who make the movie a little bit when they're planning the movie and seeing them at the premieres, my involvement really is making sure that I get the check so that my wife can make sure I cashed it.
Good enough.
That's it.
Majority of the fans I talk to, at least people I know, they say Deadpool and Logan are the only 2 good X-Men movies, or their favorite. So what I disagree. What is it about they hate the Fox X-Men universe, but they think it'll be better under the Marvel brand. Why is that? Is that
I am
true,
not a big fan of the Fox movies. I haven't really been a big fan of the Fox movies. I think that there are only 3 good movies by my standard as a viewer have been the 2 Deadpool movies and Logan.
Wow.
The X-Men First Class one came closest to me. I liked it as a movie, but I did not like it as an X-Men movie because I thought that it further threw a grenade into their already blown up continuity. My reason for not liking the X-Men movies, quite frankly, is I don't think they're that good. I just don't think that they're that well written. I don't think they've been that well directed, and I don't think they take full advantage of the strength of the characters. And it ended up becoming too much of a Wolverine show in too many of the movies. And as the writer of X-Men, as a reader of X-Men, I never wanted it to be the Wolverine show.
I'm not that picky. I enjoy them, but you just confirm what I hear all the time. So
and that's good. And look, everyone is entitled to their opinion if they've paid the money to see whatever it is they're seeing.
Like what you
I don't care if you hate the comic I wrote, as long as you paid to read it. If you hate it without having read it, then I have a problem.
So is it true that Deadpool can actually beat anybody?
No, it's not true. That's silly. That's look, it's all childish fan speculation more than anything. Who wins? Who can beat who in a fight is a fan game, not a professionals game, because we approach it as whenever we write, we will determine who will win a fight. I can make anyone beat anyone else depending on how I want to structure the story.
I seen the ceiling factor get blown off his head, his body.
Yeah, well, they've also exaggerated it in the last 10 years to a far greater degree than I had ever intended.
Okay.
The idea was you could sever his head, because I did that, but you have to put it back on in order for it to start healing. So if his body were there and his head were there, at a certain point, his brain will die from lack of oxygen and it'll atrophy and he'll be dead, right? So you're never going to watch him regrow an arm in a story I wrote, because that's not how we envisioned his power. But the movies, and the movies got good comedy out of it. It was absolutely a hilarious bit when he had baby legs. That's funny, but it's not the character. It's what the character has become, but it was never what the character was intended to be. I also think it also tends to rob a tremendous amount of drama from the story you're telling if the character you're writing can recreate himself from a drop of blood. It's just boring to me. So every writer tries to come up with a new, greater way to kill a character, and that becomes dull to me.
All right, last 3 questions. Deadpool was in the Avengers Infinity War. Assuming you've seen the movie. How would
Deadpool should not be in Avengers Infinity War.
Okay.
Deadpool should not be in the Marvel Cinematic Universe.
I know he has a difference with the thing with Thanos, a real character.
There's no answer to this question from me, because the 2 shouldn't cross over.
He shouldn't.
Marvel Cinematic Universe should be what it is. Anytime Deadpool appears with any other character, anywhere, at any time, it becomes the Deadpool show. And it shouldn't be the Deadpool show. The idea of him being in the Avengers in Marvel Comics is ludicrous to me. So the thought of him being in the Avengers on screen is beyond ludicrous to me. It's a malappropriation of the character.
So what is it people just love about Deadpool?
He's funny. He has no filter. We all wish we could be funny and have no filter. He doesn't understand societal norms. We all wish that we could often not have to deal with societal norms. People like that aspect of him without necessarily wanting to focus on the tragedy, the loneliness, the sadness, the insanity, the bad odor, all of that stuff that goes along with being Deadpool.
All right, last question. Deadpool's known for breaking the 4th wall, doing stuff he shouldn't do, saying stuff he shouldn't say. So you as the creator, what's the last time you done or said something that you shouldn't say?
Probably 50 times today to somebody standing right in front of me. I have.
Last inappropriate thing you say.
I don't know. I don't keep track, to tell you the truth. I say so many of them. I say enough inappropriate things on a daily basis to coworkers, to family, to friends that quite frankly it's impossible for me to keep track of. Which is one reason why I'm capable of writing a character that has no intelligence enough to have a societal filter.
That's the end of the interview. Unless you want to add anything.
Nope, I'm good to go. Thank you very much.
Thank you.